Welcome to the Alex Jones Radio Show. I'm David Knight on this Tuesday, January the 10th, 2017. We are now 9 days away from the Trump inauguration, and the confirmation hearings are beginning. And, of course, the first person up is Jeff Sessions. Now, Roger Stone is going to be joining us in the second hour to break down the politics of what's going on in Capitol Hill. We also have Alex Jones is going to be joining us at the bottom of the hour, talking about the attacks on free speech, the attacks on Matt Drudge, the attacks on InfoWars, and, of course, the attacks in general on the Internet. So he'll be joining us at the bottom of the hour. And, you know, as we go back and we look at this, you might say, even if you do, at this point, believe this ridiculous red herring narrative that the Russians hacked our elections. Of course, it was Hillary Clinton being exposed. And I can imagine if you're anywhere close to Hillary, if you're anywhere in that area of upstate New York, you can probably hear her, or Long Island, wherever it is that she lives outside of the city. You could probably hear her screaming at the top of her voice, "I wish email had never been invented." Well, we have the guy who invented email today, so I guess we could say we got the guy who took down Hillary Clinton, because we got a glimpse of her hoisted up there. He gave her enough rope, or I guess enough technology, that she actually hung herself, and when we saw her up there, got a glimpse, we said, ooh, don't want that, okay? So that's, we got him on. Now, he is the inventor of email. We're not going to talk to him about email so much. We will talk to him about the military-industrial complex, because he's got some very strong opinions about that. But he is a biological engineer. He has a PhD in biological engineering and systems biology. And as part of his research, one of the things that we reported on here on InfoWars a few days ago, maybe I think it was the end of last week, was something that he discovered in his work as a biologist about GMOs. And so we're going to talk to him about that. We're going to talk to him about his development of email and other technological issues, and about the military, industrial, and academic complex, because that's all a part of it. Now, we've had a lot of news that's breaking, and we're going to take a look at Jeff Sessions. As a matter of fact, before we get started with some of the updates on some of the news that we saw yesterday, let's take a look at what's just been happening. One of the interesting things that just came out was that Jeff Sessions said that he will recuse himself from any possible prosecutions of Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation. That is going to be interesting to see what happens with that. And, of course, you could look at that as good news, bad news. One, he thinks when he says that he would recuse himself, unless it was somebody direct, I don't know. To say that you're going to recuse yourself is not saying there isn't going to be any investigation, so that's the good news. We don't necessarily have to have Jeff Sessions lead the investigation of Hillary Clinton. It's good enough just to have one. So to say that I'm going to recuse myself from the investigation, that's good, because that would remove some of the claims of partisan politics that are going to be made, and of course they will be made about that. But it's something that needs to move forward. I hope that the Trump administration will move forward with that. But that's the first thing we saw. But actually, a little bit before he made that announcement, of course, we have the race card that is being played on Jeff Sessions in a totally unprecedented way. Cory Booker is prostituting himself to the racist left, saying that he doesn't, he's going to do whatever he needs to play this beloved race card that the Democrats have. So they had some people dress up in Ku Klux Klan outfits and disrupt this Senate hearing today. Let's show you a clip of what happened today earlier.
There
you go. A couple of guys in white hoods. I don't know. So I guess at this point you see them throwing them out, and I guess they're going to go get their lawyer, Morris Dees, the guy who founded Southern Poverty Law Center. Get Morris Dees on the phone, because, you know, if you're the Ku Klux Klan and you're ironically in Alabama where Jeff Sessions is, who do you turn to for legal help? Well, if it's in the middle of the civil rights, at the beginning of the civil rights movement, and you got a bunch of people that get beaten up and their bus burned in Alabama, they turn to Morris Dees, the guy who ran the Southern Poverty Law Center 10 years later. Morris Dees got the Klan off. They paid him a fortune at the time, and the dollars that were available there, it was more than a family of four would make. And Morris Dees set out the rest of the civil rights movement and then started profiting from it. He completely switched sides. He got the mailing list of, I think it was Jimmy Carter, when Jimmy Carter was running. It was some Democrat that was running for president, and he said, I'm going to do the direct mail for you. And he got a hold of the list, and then he turned that list into the Southern Poverty Law Center. And all he does is that kind of phony stuff that you saw there at the Sessions hearing, the kind of phony stuff that Cory Booker has been doing. That's where the Southern Poverty Law Center hangs out. So maybe those guys, the Ku Klux Klan that got thrown out of there, the Ku Klux Klan protesters, they can get Morris Dees to defend them now. Now, I want to do a couple of updates. Of course, we talked about Meryl Streep yesterday, and I don't want to beat this thing to death, but I think this is an interesting update. It was up on the Drudge Report. This is from Business Insider. Josh Barrow put this out, and he said, this AP story shows a problem with fact-checking. And the amazing thing is that they go out, the AP has a fact check. Is Meryl Streep overrated? Trump picks on a decorated star. So Donald Trump has a tweet that says Meryl Streep, tremendously overrated or whatever. So, you know, you got to understand that winning the Golden Globes is totally meaningless, okay? It's the Hollywood foreign press, and that's what they were happy to talk about yesterday. They said, oh, we're 3 things that Donald Trump really hates. Hollywood, foreigners, and the press. Well, you know, it's a garbage organization. I talked about that yesterday. I talked about how the Golden Globes really doesn't mean anything. If you want somebody that really knows what's going on about, read about what Gary Oldman has talked about the Golden Globes. He's really taken these people down. You get a lot of different metrics that you can use. You can talk about box office. You can talk about these self-congratulatory trophies. You know, if you want to get together and hand each other trophies, it's about as meaningless as winning the Miss Popularity contest in high school, really. And do people list that on their resume? Maybe some people do list that on their resume. But the point that he makes is overrated is a statement of an opinion. It's not a fact. There's no way that you can fact check an opinion. See, you understand? It makes a difference there. We're getting so much on the fact checks. Now, we can go back and we can fact check Cory Booker by saying, look, he was praising Jeff Sessions not too long ago, and now he's calling him an intolerable racist. Now, that's the fact checking, showing this contradiction. Or going back like we did yesterday, the clips that Darren McBreen found where we had Josh Earnest say, look, I've had 17 intelligence organizations tell me that the Russians did this, whatever this is. And he said, so I have to believe them. And so Darren said, hey, didn't we hear that before? Didn't we hear Colin Powell say, we've got 16 intelligence agencies that told me that we have weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, so I guess we have to go with that. So these are the weapons of mass destruction that they use against us. But he finishes up his story. He says, this is an opinion column. The thoughts expressed are those of the author, just in case the AP wants to fact check that. Another follow-up to the story that we've heard a lot about, and of course, that was the horrific case of the 4 black teenagers beating and torturing a mentally handicapped white teenager and streaming it live on Facebook at the time. They forced him to say F Trump, F white people. They flicked cigarette ashes on a wound that they inflicted on him. They made him drink from the toilet and so forth and so on. Well, how did CBS report this? CBS Radio. Dean Reynolds. Good job, Dean. You're our fake news face of the day here. And this is what he said in the video. And he's implying that this kid is black and that his tormentors are racist white people. If you listen to this and think, if you just hear his characterization of the story, he doesn't define this, but it sounds like a black kid that is being tortured by some white people. In the video, he is choked and repeatedly called the N-word. See, when he says that, you think, oh, he's a black guy, okay? They're calling him the N-word. His clothes are slashed. He's terrorized with a knife. His alleged captors repeatedly reference Donald Trump. Okay? Police are holding 4 people in connection with the attack. So they say he's choked, he's cut, he's tortured, he's called the N-word, and his captors reference Donald Trump. There you go. So it was a case of white racism. This is exactly what Cory Booker is doing to Jeff Sessions today. And again, as I point out, we're going to have Roger Stone talking about that when he joins us in the second hour. Now, yesterday we also had, as their final report before the new administration, Fish and Wildlife came out and told us the polar bears are all going to die for the umpteenth time. We've heard this now. And so I want to give you an update on that. 2 updates on it, actually. Washington Times points out that a polar bear conservation group blasts Obama administration's climate change alarmism. They say the polar bear was listed as a threatened species in 2008 as a result, they said, of declining Arctic sea ice. But its population has proved remarkably resilient, although the Fish and Wildlife people won't mention that. They also don't tell you that the recent decline in population size recorded in one particular area, the southern Beaufort Sea, was caused by thick spring sea ice in 2004 to 2006, not reduced summer ice. So when the ice got too thick, they couldn't get to something that they needed to eat. Okay, but here's the other part of this. This story from Climate Depot, Mark Morano. Pravda says scientists now warn of a new ice age as temperatures plummet to minus 80 degrees Fahrenheit in Russia. And this is not just Pravda. It was Pravda in Germany, but they were referencing an American scientist report out of Yale. Yeah, a Yale scientist, Y. Liu. A recent paper published said that they've overlooked the possibility of collapsed Atlantic meridional overturning circulation. I think I pronounced that right. Should the ocean heat conveyor collapse, he says, there would be a prominent cooling over the northern North Atlantic and neighboring areas. Sea ice increases over Greenland, Iceland, Norwegian seas, and the south of Greenland. In other words, if you want to sum it up, and here's how Pravda summed it up, and here's how I would sum it up, CO2 has nothing to do with it. Rather, the influence of the sun is the dominant factor. How about that? It was right in front of our face the entire time. It was the sun. You see, they went out and they flipped a coin, and it was like heads it's warming, tails it's cooling, and it's come up tails. It's kind of like when Bill Cosby used to be a comedian. He had that routine about flipping the coin of the American Revolution. Well, these guys are wearing the red suits and marching in a straight line, and we're going to be shooting from behind the walls because it's totally phony. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
InfoWars has more than 15 YouTube channels and about 3 million subscribers. Our main channel has 1.854 or 1,854,000 plus subscribers. Now, they've been gaming the system for a long time to shut down nationalistic or patriotic media, saying we're right-wingers, saying we're extremists. Well, it doesn't matter who we are. We have a right to free speech, don't we? As long as we don't violate the rules. Well, now Zuckerberg has come out and said he's going to restrict conservative news like communist China does, calling it fake news. And Google, that owns YouTube, has announced, and they've done it now 2 weeks ago, that they're going to basically make you click the bell in your notifications. We're going to show you how to do that, or you won't get all the channels that you've subscribed to, and you won't get the videos. Now, why are they doing this? It's more than just censoring. They want you to see the videos that they feed you below and beside the videos you're looking at that are corporately sponsored so they make more money. They're taking the you out of YouTube. So we're in this information war, and it's more important than ever that you promote the videos, that you like the videos, and that you send them on to others. Because the answer to the attempt to shut us down and restrict free speech that's openly now happening is for us to redouble our efforts. We're winning the culture war as true classical liberals that made this country great. We're restoring the Renaissance. So again, if you want to get our videos, so you can make your decision whether you want to see them or not. After all, that's why you subscribed. YouTube's had this since they started 12 years ago or whatever it was. And they're fundamentally changing it so you don't get it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is promoting fake news and trash news and establishment news. It's killing real independent news. But we, the people, by taking action, can break the back of this system. So please click on the bell so you get the notifications and so you get in your feed the videos and channels you've subscribed to. I'm Alex Jones for Infowars.com.
Welcome to the Alex Jones Radio Show. I'm David Knight on this Tuesday, January the 10th, 2017. We are now 9 days away from the Trump inauguration, and the confirmation hearings are beginning. And, of course, the first person up is Jeff Sessions. Now, Roger Stone is going to be joining us in the second hour to break down the politics of what's going on in Capitol Hill. We also have Alex Jones is going to be joining us at the bottom of the hour, talking about the attacks on free speech, the attacks on Matt Drudge, the attacks on InfoWars, and, of course, the attacks in general on the Internet. So he'll be joining us at the bottom of the hour. And, you know, as we go back and we look at this, you might say, even if you do, at this point, believe this ridiculous red herring narrative that the Russians hacked our elections. Of course, it was Hillary Clinton being exposed. And I can imagine if you're anywhere close to Hillary, if you're anywhere in that area of upstate New York, you can probably hear her, or Long Island, wherever it is that she lives outside of the city. You could probably hear her screaming at the top of her voice, "I wish email had never been invented." Well, we have the guy who invented email today, so I guess we could say we got the guy who took down Hillary Clinton. Because when we got a glimpse of her hoisted up there, he gave her enough rope, or I guess enough technology, that she actually hung herself. And when we saw her up there, got a glimpse, we said, "Ooh, don't want that." Okay, so that's we got him on. Now, he is the inventor of email. We're not going to talk to him about email so much. We will talk to him about the military-industrial complex, because he's got some very strong opinions about that. But he is a biological engineer. He has a PhD in biological engineering and systems biology. And as part of his research, one of the things that we reported on here on InfoWars a few days ago, maybe I think it was the end of last week, was something that he discovered in his work as a biologist about GMOs. And so we're going to talk to him about that. We're going to talk to him about his development of email and other technologies.